Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Dynasty Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined as always by Pat Fitzmaurice and Scott Bogman. Fellas, we are in the middle of our post-draft week of Dynasty content. One of the most fun weeks of the entire year for Dynasty everything. Dynasty drafts, Dynasty just podcasts, Dynasty articles, Dynasty everything is very fun this week. We did one show already earlier this week. We'll have another one coming out after this. So a busy schedule for us. Just to let everybody know, because of some travel, we are taping this at the beginning of the week, just in case there's any kind of announcement or update, or, you know, the Jags come out and say Travis Hunter's only playing defense, you know, whatever it might be. We are taping this on Monday for shows throughout the week. So that is what we're doing here. I do also want to remind everybody that you can head to fantasypros.com/rankings for all consensus 2025 rankings, including both Dynasty and rookie rankings. Guys, this is one of my most fun shows to do, honestly, the entire year, is the post-draft SUPERFLEX rookie mock drafts. We are going 5 rounds deep with the three of us. We will be kind of rotating through picks. So I will have pick 1, then 4, then 7, and so on. Fitz will be 2, 5, 8, and so on. You get how the pattern goes. Bogman, what are your thoughts before we dive into this mock?
I'm excited, man. Hopefully, I feel like I have Cam Skattebo at a more reasonable position now, so maybe I won't get hammered in the comments as much doing my post-draft, adjustments here. Still have him higher than most people do, of course, but not as a first-rounder in this format. So I think maybe that's more reasonable to most people. But yeah, it's fun to see how people's perceptions, even a draft we're doing right now. Fitz had the number 1 pick. He went with Jeanty, and then our boy Debro had number 2. He took Tetairoa McMillan at number 2. Needed wide receivers on his team. So, but it's just interesting to see the way these things go.
I suspect that Fitz will not be taking Tet with the second pick here in our draft. Fitz, any thoughts? I mean, as Bogman mentioned, we have started some real actual rookie drafts. And a lot of my leagues wait a week. They kind of start that second Monday after the draft, but I've got a couple leagues that have already started today. And so it's fun to see not just what we're imagining first rounds and beyond to play out, but how they are literally playing when you know, it's time to put your money where your mouth is. Where are people using this draft capital? It's been interesting to see already.
Yeah, the degenerates at our company with our in-house drafts, one starting at 9 a.m. this morning, another starting at noon. We don't waste any time. We just dive headfirst into it.
Which I get it. You know, as soon as the draft happens, I'm like, give me all the good players you got in all my favorite landing spots, and I'm excited to see them on my Dynasty roster. So I totally respect the early going here. We'll dive in because we're going to move a little quickly. We probably will spend a little more time on the earlier picks as we usually do on these, but of course we have 5 rounds to get through, so we'll go ahead and dive in now. I've got the first pick. No sense wasting anybody's time. This has not changed in any mock we've done the entire year. It's Ashton Jeanty. This is SUPERFLEX. I don't care. Cam Ward went number 1 as expected. I don't care. This is Ashton Jeanty's spot. Anybody who does anything different is overthinking it. Fitz, I think we can go straight to you for pick number 2, unless either of you guys wants to weigh in on Jeanty as the 101 for like the umpteenth time.
No, just that the landing spot for Jeanty worked out really well. Excited about him being in Chip Kelly's offense, where they've got a pretty good line in Las Vegas. And Chip Kelly, I love how his offense has always played a fast pace. Fast pace means more snaps, more touch opportunities. It's a really good landing spot.
Yeah, can hardly have asked for pretty much anything better. Fitz, who you got at number 2?
Yeah, I mean, I could go any of 2 or 3 different ways here. I'm going to take the quarterback value because I think there is really one fairly safe bet at quarterback. And I have expressed some reservations about Cam Ward and his staying power just because of some of the recklessness in his game. But I do think because he is an aggressive downfield thrower and runs the ball a little bit, that he's going to have some fantasy value. So I'm going to take him too.
Bogman, would you have gone a different direction? Or, again, I'm pretty sure every draft we've done, for the most part, has been Jeanty 1, Cam Ward 2. That's still how it pans out for you.
Yeah, I think, if you're drafting for a team you already have, it's kind of what is your need? I think there's a tier of guys here, but in a vacuum, it's Cam Ward because of all the same things that Fitzy said. There's just no other quarterback that's an immediate impact and a guaranteed starter for this season and beyond. So yeah, Cam Ward is the number 2 pick here.
Barring being here due to a trade, it's hard for me to imagine a team having the second pick, having strong enough quarterbacks that they would be passing up Cam Ward. Like if you have strong quarterbacks and a real need at running back or receiver, there are other names that I agree are in this tier, but it feels like if you're picking this high, you probably are behind the 8-ball at quarterback.
Probably. I have a league where I have, Mahomes and Stroud. So in that scenario, maybe I wouldn't. Maybe because my running backs are so bad and Najee was a starter, I would go with, Omarion Hampton or somebody. But in this scenario, in most scenarios, I think you're right. I think it's Cam Ward.
Talk me through your third pick.
Yeah, it's Omarion Hampton for me. This one, it starts to get a little tougher. There's some wideouts here that I like, but the fit in LA with the Chargers and Harbaugh in that offense is so perfect. The line is pretty solid. I don't think Najee is a real true threat to this guy. I think he's just so explosive, runs with violence, and is a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. He can do a little bit of everything. So he's a 3-down back on a team that is run heavy, and he's just starting his career. So it's a very good fit. I really like it, and Hampton is my third pick. Regardless, I mean, unless he's 2, he's 3 for me.
I know you feel the same way about Hampton, Fitz. I kind of look at it as Hampton, Tet, and Travis Hunter in some order as 3, 4, 5. I think Cam Ward is in that tier. I just expect him to go 2 in most drafts because of the quarterback, super flex, everything. And I find myself really torn on Hampton versus Tet versus Hunter. I see really interesting cases for all 3 of them. If you're sitting there at 4, which I might be on the clock in a different league that hasn't drafted yet, picking between something like Tet and Hampton or Hunter and Hampton, then I think it will just come down to running back versus receiver. In this scenario where I'm picking 4th and it's the 2 receivers, I find it to be kind of a tricky spot because it's a lot about risk tolerance, right? And I want to get your guys' opinion on who you would take here if you were picking 4th and it was the 2 receivers. I'm going to go with Tet because I cannot shake in the back of my mind the possibility of Hunter getting hurt because he's playing too many snaps, getting winded because of that, or just that he ends up being better at cornerback than receiver. I know that there's a lot of optimism about Travis Hunter playing a lot of receiver for Jacksonville, and if he was a full-time receiver, I think he should have gone off the board 2 spots earlier. But as it is, McMillan got the capital. He's going to get a lot of targets. Bryce Young looked really improved in the second half of last season. I'm going to take the guy that I'm sure is good instead of the guy that I'm not sure but could be, elite. Is that kind of the same approach you would have taken, Fitz, or would you have gone Hunter in that spot?
No, I would go Tet first because that is the thing. If you have Travis Hunter, you are going to live in fear of the rug pull, where all of a sudden they decide, nope, we're going to make him a cornerback first. The wide receiver thing was great. We still like him there, but, it's just we think he's awesome at cornerback, and we want to have him do that. So if he does that, even if they give him up to like 50% of a snap share on offense, he's not going to be startable in most leagues. I mean, you just no one. Jamar Chase is marginally startable if he was only playing 40% to 50% of the offensive snaps. So that's what you have to live in fear of. And, I do think if they're both full-time receivers, I'd rather have Travis Hunter, but there is no threat of a position change hanging over Tet McMillan's head.
Bogman, before we get to Fitz's pick at 5, same thought, or would you have gone Hunter?
No, I would have gone Hunter. Not by a ton. I think it's real close, but I'm going to use the Mike Tomlin. I'm not going to live in my fears. And the Jaguars have already said that they're going to make him a primary wide receiver. I don't think this is a one and done coaching staff here in Liam Cohen like Urban Meyer or anything. So I think I'm going to believe them and say that he's a wide receiver first and he's going to get cornerback packages, which it's not the way I would do it. And I think, Fitz and I have talked about this a lot. And I do have the fear of the drop off for Travis Hunter in my mind. That has to be there. But I just think he's so far and away the best wide receiver in this class. If he is a primary wide receiver, that's what the Jags have told us. I'm with you, Worm. I do have fear that, playing both ways, you open yourself up for injuries. You're twice as likely to get injured, right? So I don't love that part. So in the overall, I have him much lower than what is consensus, but not in this draft. In this draft, I would have him one spot ahead of Tet. And I love Tet, and I love the landing spot for Tet as well in Carolina, because they have no defense. They're going to have to pass in the third. Garbage time counts the same for fantasy. So I love it. And he's a touchdown magnet, but Travis Hunter just has that insane top 10 value upside if he is a wide receiver.
And if I didn't love Tet as much as I did, maybe I'd be more willing to take the risk. But I really like Tet also. So it's not like I feel like I'm falling back on a guy who doesn't have any kind of ceiling, because I think Tet does. Fitz, you are taking Travis Hunter 5th.
I am going to take Travis Hunter 5th. And, we've talked about the possible concerns with him, but let's talk about the good stuff. Just an incredibly fluid, natural athlete, incredible ball skills. Will be playing with Brian Thomas Jr., so they cannot roll coverage his way. Just a lot to like here, and pretty easy call here at number 5.
Yep, and I think that kind of marks not a drop-off, but I think that will be what the first 5 looks like in most drafts in some order. So Bogman, where are you going at 6?
At 6, I'm not going to take Cam Skattebo like I did in our last mock. I'm going to take TreVeyon Henderson, the running back from Ohio State that ended up with the Patriots. I love this landing spot. I mean, I think Ramondre, we talked about it in the last show, right? How Ramondre Stevenson has fallen out of favor in New England because of the turnovers and fumbles that he had at the end of the season. And this team just needs juice. They need speed somewhere. They added it at running back with Henderson. They added a wide receiver with Kyle Williams. And this is, again, a guy like Achane that doesn't need 20, 25 touches to make an impact. He needs 15. Give him 12 to 15. Hope one of those is a big one and eats you up a bunch of yards, or that they're in a 2-minute drill a bunch and he catches a lot of passes, right? So I really love the fit for Henderson to New England, and he doesn't have to push Stevenson out quickly to make an impact, and I think he still will.
Fitz, I know TreVeyon is the kind of the guy you and I would have had in the spot pre-draft. Is that still the case for you? I mean, obviously, Ramondre Stevenson is there. He's under contract for a few more years. Questions about the offensive line, though New England has worked to address that this offseason. Having said all that, he's got so much juice. I think you and I both think he's the 3rd best running back in the class. And it's just hard to imagine anybody, let alone Ramondre Stevenson, keeping this guy off the field. He's also a great pass protector, which New England needs for Drake May with this offensive line. So is he still the right guy at 6?
He is. And even if he does not get a full workload, even if he does kind of get into a 2-headed backfield with Ramondre Stevenson, he does have the potential to be a Jahmyr Gibbs-like producer who, makes up for the lack of workhorse volume with splash plays and his ability to break the big ones. So, yeah, I'm still pretty excited about Henderson. I don't mind the landing spot at all, honestly.
I know Heath Cummings, who's been on the show before, has said that he has Henderson as his RB2 now because most dynasty leagues are PPR. And he thinks Henderson could, at one point, maybe even lead the position in catches in a season, and that in a PPR format, you could justify him as high as 102, even in SUPERFLEX. So I know he's got him in that kind of large tier too with his rankings that came out, and obviously somebody we respect. So I wanted to point that out because I don't think most people will have him that high, but given the pass catching upside, I can totally see it as justifiable. I'm on the clock with the 7th pick. I'm going to go with Colston Loveland. I think you could go a few different directions here. I like Judkins. I'm interested by some of the receivers. I think the fact that I don't like Tyler Warren's landing spot means to me that this isn't a 1 tight end draft, but this is a 1 tight end in the first round draft, at least the way I'm approaching it, because I would drop Warren down. So I want to get that guy who has top 10 draft capital, who's going to this fun offense with the same play caller who we saw have rookie year Sam Laporta, who apparently a lot of teams loved as a better receiving option than Tyler Warren. It was not just the Bears. I'm kind of all in on Loveland in the back half of first rounds. If you have a tight end need, even in not tight end premium, I'm very in on Loveland. There are other running backs I'll like later. So I take Loveland there. Fitz, before we get to your pick, is that the right spot for a tight end? I mean, I think we would all agree, given the landing spot, that Loveland is tight end 1 at this point. Is 7 too early in your opinion, or is that an acceptable area?
A little bit. I could not take him ahead of the running back who I'm going to take.
Bogman, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I have the tight ends a little bit lower. You asked us before the draft, like, what is the spacing? Because we both had Warren 1 over Loveland. It was very, very close. because of the landing spot, I do have Loveland ahead of Warren now. So Loveland is the number 1 tight end. I would have waited after a couple of the backs. There's also a couple wideouts I still like.
And Fitz, you can go ahead and jump into your running back here that you are taking at 8.
Yeah, it's going to be Quinshon Judkins. And I know some people even like him more than TreVeyon Henderson and the landing spot. I didn't entirely love that they also drafted Dylan Sampson, another rookie running back I like a lot. They still got Jerome Ford around, but Judkins really is cut out to be the heavy-duty back in this Kevin Stefanski offense. And, I like the landing spot. I like that they took him early in the 2nd round. It's a good place for him. So getting Quinshon Judkins in the back half of the 1st round, whether it's 7, 8, 9, all pretty good places to get him. He's a good value at that point.
Bogman, I still like Judkins. The reason I went with my favorite tight end over him, well, one of the reasons is I do really like Sampson also. And I think Judkins, his path to success as a 1st round pick in rookie drafts is going to be very volume based. He's not a great tackle breaker. And I don't think this offense is going to be very good with the quarterback situation. So I think it's going to be a lot of like 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Now, Judkins is a very talented player, so I don't say that to diminish him, but I worry about the environment for the next couple of years in terms of just getting lots of touchdown opportunities. I don't think he's as good as Nick Chubb, and I think you need to be Nick Chubb to overcome some of the Browns stuff. So again, I really like him. He's like a clear 1st round pick, but that coupled with the fact that I do kind of like Jerome Ford and I like Dylan Sampson a lot was enough for me to take a tight end that I'm really in on. But I know that you disagree and you're more on Fitz's side with this.
Look, I never mind taking a dump on the Browns. So I love that, Worm. But I just think Quinshon Judkins is built for volume. Stefanski loves to run the ball. He built the whole offense around Chubb. You are absolutely right, Worm. Judkins is not Chubb, and he probably never will be what Chubb was at his peak. Chubb was a freak. So I really can't stress that enough. You're not getting Chubb out of Quinshon Judkins, but in this draft, I think it's great. I also don't hate adding Dylan Sampson. I think Dylan Sampson is, to me, he's a lot like, I think his floor is probably Devin Singletary. I think that's probably where he's going to settle in, maybe a little bit better, a little bit worse, but somewhere right in that neighborhood. I think he's a great 2nd back. I think both of them are better than Jerome Ford from day one. Doesn't mean that Jerome Ford isn't going to, be the starter to begin the year. He is a veteran. He's gone through the practices. He's gone through the reps. There's no confusion for him. He knows what he's doing. So maybe it takes a little bit longer for these guys to get on the field, but I think they're both better than Ford just athletically already. And I really like what Judkins brings. So, a clear RB1 to me in this class, a clear RB1 on his team. Yes, they have a lot to get figured out, but it probably means they're going to run the ball a bunch. So I think he will have the volume that he needs.
And I agree with you that he is built for the volume. It's just a question of with the other options there, will it be enough to overcome what I perceive to be maybe an issue with efficiency? We'll see how it pans out. Obviously, I think in that 7 to 9 window is a very great spot to be getting him. So I don't want to sound like I'm hating on him. 9th pick, Bogman, who are you taking?
Yeah, I'm going to go with another running back here. I'm going to go with RJ Harvey. And I was not as high on Harvey as Debro was. We talked about this in the show the other day, but I love this landing spot. I really, really like it. And we know that, Sean Payton likes to take the one running back and rely on them. So he'll mix in the other guys behind him, but he has a primary guy. Harvey is the primary guy. He's already way better than all the guys they have on the roster. He led a high rushing offense at UCF last season. And I think he steps in and gets this job from day one. The draft capital of him going in the 2nd round, obviously, is very high as well in a group of really good running backs. So it just goes to show that they really like him, to pick him out of the glut of running backs in this class, spend such a high pick on him, where other teams kind of felt like we're ducking the running back situation until late because there were such good ones falling. Denver went out and made it a point to get this guy to add to their offense. And I really am excited for what he can do there.
Sean Payton went out and made it a point to add Marvin Mims in the 2nd round a couple years ago, and then he got like 12 touches all season. So
they play different positions.
I know. I'm just pointing. People keep saying like, oh, like Denver clearly wanted this guy. We all thought that about Mims a couple years ago. I'm with you on Harvey. I'm going to take Kaleb Johnson with the 10th pick. And Fitz, I'm curious with these two, Would you go Harvey, then Johnson? And I do see a drop-off at the running back position, especially after these last guys. I think there are 6 names that you could justify in the first round of rookie drafts. Kaleb Johnson is the 6th. I know he fell to the 3rd round, but I think it was Nate Tice that called him like Honey, I Shrunk Derrick Henry. Now in an Arthur Smith offense where we saw Derrick Henry really obviously excel for many years. Kaleb Johnson is not Derrick Henry, but he's similar stylistically in this offense. I know Jaylen Warren is still there. It's going to be very run heavy. We still don't even know the quarterback, resolution there. I think Kaleb Johnson is an awesome pick in the back 3 picks of rookie drafts, even getting 3rd round draft capital. And again, with the drop off at running back. So Fitz, for you, does it go Harvey, then Johnson? Would you have flipped these? Would you have taken a receiver instead?
No, it would have been between these guys. I do have Harvey ranked ahead of Kaleb. I think it's really close. There's a lot to like with both guys. Harvey, I know there's been some debate on Twitter about his value, and some people are just over the moon with the landing spot. I know Debro is really high on him and thinks like Harvey versus Omarion Hampton isn't a crazy conversation to have. And we know that there's a lot of pass catching value in Sean Payton's backfields. And while RJ Harvey didn't put up massive receiving stats at UCF, he did show an aptitude for it. And I think he averaged like 13 yards a catch over his last 2 college seasons, which is pretty crazy for a running back. So yes, Sean Payton always has a multi-headed backfield, and it's not going to be a 350 touch season for RJ Harvey, but he's going to get a big enough role to make an impact in fantasy. And I would consider him the betting favorites for the most touches of anyone in the Denver backfield. I don't know if he's going to get goal line work. Maybe that's Audric Estime, but I think he's going to catch a lot of passes and get a lot of carries. And then Kaleb, stick him in Arthur Smith's zone heavy run scheme. Like, it's just a perfect fit for him. The only thing is, he's probably not going to play on passing down since the Steelers also have Jaylen Warren and Kenny Gainwell.
Bogman, what do you think?
Yeah, I like all these guys, right? I have Cam next to Kaleb. I think the initial role will probably be close to the same, but yeah, Kaleb is your early down thumper. Jaylen Warren is a guy that we've seen come in, and he's a good running back. He's very skilled, but you give him more than 12 to 15 touches and he starts to break down. So I think Kaleb Johnson is a perfect fit in a one-cut offense in this zone running scheme for Arthur Smith. And I think that he complements Jaylen Warren perfectly. So the fits for these guys are very nice.
Fitz, where are you going at 11 with the running backs largely gone?
I'm going to go Emeka Egbuka. And I thought he was one of the safest wide receivers in the draft. And maybe that safety is going to get tested a little bit going to Tampa, which is kind of a weird fit. Tampa has slot receivers coming out of their ears now with Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, Emeka Egbuka, 3 guys who do their best work in the slot. Maybe Egbuka can slide outside to Z. Godwin has done that before and had a little bit of a down year playing outside primarily. And, McMillan, I think, is best as a slot guy too. But long haul, I just think there's such a high floor for Egbuka. It's hard for me to do anything else with this pick.
Yeah, Bogman, I'm really curious what you think about this, because Egbuka, I think, would have been gone if he had gone to a more obvious, early impact landing spot. He wouldn't have lasted to the 11th pick in this mock. It's hard to find the room for it in the Bucs, but Chris Godwin coming off major injury, Mike Evans another year older. There's a world where a year from now, this looks like a steal at the 11th pick.
100% correct. This is a hard pick between Egbuka and the guy I like here, but I think, it's the what is that from The Watchmen? You're stuck in here with me. I'm not stuck in here with you. Like, Chris Godwin and Jalen McMillan need to be worried about this, not Emeka Egbuka. Like, he is an extremely talented wide receiver, and this is a pass-heavy offense. I think the fit is good. I probably got a little overzealous with some of the crowded stuff last year with Ricky Pearsall, and I'm just refusing to do that in some situations this year. Not all. You take them all with a grain of salt, but I think that this one in particular, people don't like it because this is one of the best things that the Bucs had going for them was the wide receivers. It wasn't a need, but you don't take need in round one. You take the best player on the board, and that's exactly what the Bucs did here with Emeka Egbuka on their board. He was number one, and this is just I don't care. I have to have him. And that's what it was for the Bucs, and it shows that they love him and that he was highest on their board. And this is a pass-heavy offense. I'm not worried about Egbuka here. I'm worried about Godwin and McMillan.
Let's go to that player that you said you would have considered between Egbuka and this other guy for the next pick.
I mean, Fitz is just bound and determined to hate his guys draft here. I'm going to take Matthew Golden, the wide receiver out of Texas, going to Green Bay. I think it's a smart pick for the Packers because you just keep building around your quarterback, around Jordan Love, and last year it was an ugly mix of who is the number one from week to week in Green Bay. Sometimes it was Jayden Reed, sometimes it was Dobbs. Other times, Watson had a couple big games in there, sprinkle in some Wicks performances and Tucker Kraft. It was kind of who is the guy. I think you have your guy now. You have your speed guy, and he's a really nice fit with these other guys in Green Bay as well. And you had, injury issues with Watson. Obviously, has missed a ton of games. You've had effort and injury issues with Romeo Dobbs. So I think this fit just makes a lot of sense. He steps into a healthy offense. He doesn't have to be amazing or get peppered with a million targets to make an impact either. He just has to get the ball in his hands and use his speed. And I think being in Green Bay is a very good scenario to do that for him. So I really like the pick. I think the landing spot's better than people give it credit for. Even though it's crowded, I think he can be one of the best. So yeah, it's Matthew Golden for me.
Fitz, if you had the 12th pick and were looking to draft a receiver because the running backs are off the board and you don't want Warren, is Golden the guy you would have taken in this spot, or would you have gone a different direction?
I would have gone a different direction. And look, this is going to be a really interesting debate, film versus analytics, because the film guys love Matthew Golden. Mel Kiper had him as his 9th overall prospect in this draft. Dane Brugler and Daniel Jeremiah both had him top 15. The analytics say players with this sort of yards per route run profile drafted in the first round, bust after bust after bust after bust. Like the track record is terrible. So this is going to be an interesting test to see, man versus machine, analytics versus film. What is proven right here? And all I know is that I said this on a show we had earlier this week. If you would have told someone after the 2023 season that Matthew Golden would be drafted before Luther Burden, they would have had you committed to an insane asylum, because Burden was coming off a 1,200-yard season in the SEC, and Matthew Golden was like the number 3 receiver for the University of Houston.
What would they tell you if they only watched 2024, Fitzy?
Yeah, 2024 happened, no question about it. And it was a glorious run for Golden at the end of the season, although he did do his best work with Isaiah Bond hurt. True. No question, though, he lit up Georgia for 8 catches, 164 yards. Like, that actually happened. But I think those film guys, if you had, reviewed him in 2023, you would have said, oh, yeah, this guy has speed. He's a good route runner. He's draftable. They wouldn't have said top 15 prospect, though. So I actually think Luther Burden is still a better bet.
If you're trying to plan out your drafts, our Dynasty Rookie Draft Simulator lets you complete a mock in minutes with no waiting between picks. Customize your league settings to match your league's exact format. Premium subscribers can test trade scenarios by mocking with their traded draft picks. Prepare for rookie drafts and Dynasty startup drafts in one place. Use the Dynasty Rookie Draft Simulator to dominate your rookie draft today. That's at fantasypros.com/simulator. All right, guys. Go to round 2. I think this is far enough for Tyler Warren to fall. I said I think there's only one tight end that I would take in round 1 at this point. Tyler Warren is still a guy that we were talking about as tight end 4 in Dynasty prior to the draft. It's not my favorite landing spot. We don't know that the quarterback situation is going to look the way it does forever. Maybe Anthony Richardson, getting some experience under his belt, takes a step forward. Maybe they find another way to address the position. I don't think it's going to be stuck with this really inaccurate, inexperienced quarterback forever. So I'm just going to bet on the talent here and say, again, he's fallen far enough with the landing spot. I think early round 2 is totally fine for Warren. Fitz, we can go to you unless you have any thoughts on Warren.
No, I think that's a good spot for him. I would have done the same thing. And so with pick 202, I am going to take Luther Burden. Like my fear is that he is a slightly higher pedigree Rondale Moore. And I got suckered in by Rondale Moore, who had like one spectacular college season in a big time conference early in his career. Same kind of game, short area receiver who does his best work with the ball in his hands. But man, I mean, Burden with the ball in his hands is just Allen Iverson. He will break your ankles with some of the moves he puts together, and like the speed is fantastic. Also, like a little underrated though as a downfield receiver. Like he will make circus catches, and he certainly has the speed to get open deep.
If not, I'm just so worried about how many mouths there are to fill in Chicago. Otherwise, I would have considered Burden, a couple picks earlier, but there's just so many of them, and they're all young. So I'm worried about them being around for a while. I mean, DJ Moore's 28 and he's the oldest. So yeah. I worry about just the volume for him, but I love the real life fit. A lot of people are really surprised by it for the Bears. I think it's a great real life addition, truthfully.
Get a guy like that with Ben Johnson. I'm 100% with you. Yeah. And I have him at the bottom of the tier with Egbuka and Golden. So I do think there's a delineation of wideouts here for sure. But like I said, last year I did this thing a little bit too much, being crowded with Pearsall. Pearsall worked out. And I heard some Debo comps to Luther Burden. So they're not going to just use him. He's not going to just be running downfield and doing easy routes. They're going to use him all over the place.
Yeah. I always want to fade the too many mouths to feed narrative a little bit, like even in redraft, but especially in Dynasty, situations change, injuries.
Green rises to the top.
It's tackle football. Injuries happen. Like I'm going to bet on the talent. Luther Burden is a talented cat.
Part of the too many mouths to feed is that I really loved Odunze last year, and I'm buying in on a year two. And that, like, I don't think DJ Moore, I know there was some stuff about him, like, walking out the field during a play and stuff. He's still, like, their most established receiver by a mile. So this is, normally I'm with you. Like, I was not really fading with Pearsall last year. This year, I'm more worried about it, even if I love the player and the fit in a vacuum. And it would not surprise me if Burden, proves to have been worth a top 8 pick, in a couple of years. That's in rookie drafts. That's how good I think he is. Bogman, you're up with the 203.
Yeah, it's still super flex, right? We still have a first round quarterback on the board. I'll go ahead and do it. I'll take Jaxson Dart at this spot. And, I think that I don't have the most confidence in Jaxson Dart, but the Giants do. You take him in the first round. You're out of the quarterback business next year unless you're, whole new coaching staff, and this is a Josh Rosen thing that happens. But I think that Dart is the guy in the future. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much he's going to play at all this year, right? It should be Russell Wilson, and behind him it should be Jameis. And so we shouldn't see a lot of Jaxson Dart, but there are a limited amount of quarterbacks in the NFL, and there is a very limited amount of good quarterbacks in the NFL. This guy has rushing upside, right? If he can put together the passing side and be better than a lot of people think, this dude was first in the nation in everything. Yes, it was a easy to work offense at Ole Miss and all of that, but he definitely has traits. So if he can sit and learn for a year and then come out next year when they add another wide receiver next to Malik Neighbors, and maybe Skattebo is rolling downhill a little bit, maybe they fix the O-line a little bit as well. He steps into a more completed offense, a healthier offense. And, it's, what do we expect from McCarthy this year, right? And this guy won't be coming off an injury. So I'm just excited for the long-term value of him. If you need an immediate play, this is probably not your pick. But if you're QB desperate or you're a bottom feeder or something, and you're picking late, I think Jaxson Dart is a nice fit for a team that is rebuilding.
I think he was the clear pick here, Fitz. I don't know if you agree, but in a super flex, like I think he can't fall any further than that. I think all the players that we clearly love the talent enough to take over a quarterback that we maybe aren't in love with have already gone off the board, and you just have to go with a first-round quarterback.
I'm not a big Jaxson Dart fan, but Bogman just took him 203, 15th overall. I have him ranked 15th overall in Superflex.
I think that's the right spot for sure in this format. I'm going Tre Harris with a 204. It might be a couple picks early. I think you could have looked at a couple other names here. This is a bet on Debro's evaluation because he loves Tre Harris and I love Debro. So I'm kind of trusting. I like Harris too. And it's a great fit, right? I mean, how much better of a fit could you have asked for than this Chargers wide receiver room where there's a lot of, opportunity here beyond Ladd McConkey. He's a great complementary fit next to McConkey on the field, paired with Justin Herbert. I'm not worried about Greg Roman not throwing enough for a guy who, if he's talented enough and can be the second target in this offense, he will be fantasy viable. Like I said, I'm buying into the talent and to the evaluators that I trust. And I think mid-second round is appropriate for him. It's just you could have maybe gone one or two other names instead. But I'll happily take him here with the 204 and kick it over to Fitz for the 205.
Boggs is going to let me have Cam Skattebo 205. All right, I guess I have to take him. Good landing spot. I mean, it seems like a pretty logical 1-2 punch with Tyrone Tracy, who's got maybe more of a passing down skill set as a converted wide receiver. Skattebo can be the early guy, goal line back. Just seems like a really good fit. And man, if Tyrone Tracy gets a loose handle with the football again, maybe we're seeing Skattebo in more of a workhorse role. But I don't know how well his game is going to translate to the NFL, but I saw enough that I was excited about with his career at Arizona State that I'm happy to make that bet.
Bogman, how you holding up?
I mean, first of all, I'm mad, right? Like, how could you do this to me, Fitz? I thought we were friends. But also, look, I think it shows the value. Maybe I was insanely high on him coming in, but Fitz took him in the middle of the second here. I think he can go higher than this too to some people that like him. So if his game does translate, this is too late for Cam Skattebo to go. This is exactly where I have him as well, is right in this range. So it's not a perfect landing spot because Tracy is young and very good and looked good handling the workload last year until the end when he started fumbling. That was rough. Devin Singletary is a pesky vet who might annoy me this season with Cam Skattebo, I think, right? We think he's going to get tossed off of every team he's on. He's always pretty solid. He's annoying. So maybe that lowers his value for this season a little bit. But I just think in the long run, Cam Skattebo is your workhorse for the Giants in this backfield. I love the idea of him and Jaxson Dart next to each other back there. And I think this is a great pick. So well done, Fitz. I'm not mad at all. Great pick.
Well, you got so much grief in the YouTube comments, Boggs. I figured I'd be the lightning rod for you this time around.
There we go. Yeah. Now Fitz is the idiot, not me. Let's go with Jayden Higgins for the next pick here. The sixth pick in the second round. We're kind of picking through now. I think that there's a little bit of a drop off here, but I think now we're getting some guys that are either in weird situations with a quarterback or they're going to be number twos. And Higgins is clearly a number two in this offense behind Nico, who is just an all-world wide receiver. So it's between him and Noel, between who is really going to emerge here. I know a lot of people are on Noel more because they already have a version of Jayden Higgins in Nico and probably a better version, but this dude is just reliable. He's going to be open a lot. I think Stroud takes the biggest bump out of anybody for these wide receivers going to the Texans, but I think Higgins is in a good spot with a lot of opportunity here. I don't really like Schultz. And I think he's just way more reliable on a down in, down out basis than Jaylen Noel. So give me the big man.
I find myself really torn. I do feel like there's a drop off at this point after 206. Assuming these are the names that are gone in some order for the first 18 picks. I find myself considering a bunch of different possibilities.
Do the weird one. Take the weird one.
Well,
or not. I mean, however you want to do it. But
I will take. I'm going to just take an upside swing. This is probably a taxi squad player at first, but the ceiling is too high in Superflex. I'm going to take Jalen.
That's it.
This is not somebody you're going to get anything out of in year one. You might not even get anything out of in year two. You got to be prepared for that possibility. The upside is a top 5 fantasy quarterback with his legs. I'm not saying I think he will ever get there, but if you're not sure where to go, I will take that kind of, not just a home run swing, but a grand slam swing if he actually hits. He could be the third best rushing quarterback in football if he becomes a full-time starter. So He got the day 2 capital. It's a situation where he can develop, but there's not like a long-term quarterback in front of him. So I think it's a really good landing spot for him. We've seen Seattle turn a 3rd-round pick into a long-time starting quarterback before. So I think taking the upside swing makes a lot of sense here. Fitz, I had to join you in the parade of taking Bogman's guys away from him.
Yeah, I would have taken him if you hadn't, Swarm. I think he was the right pick. Who's number 2 as far as best rushing quarterbacks?
Daniels.
I was saying it's Lamar and Daniels is probably 1 and 2 would be my thought.
Milroe could be better than both of them by the time he starts.
Yeah, I think it's Lamar and Milroe now. I mean, Milroe is just, that guy's electric, man. And, arm strength is not an issue either. Obviously, he's got accuracy and processing issues, but like he's got some time. And the great thing is, like, how much do we believe that Sam Darnold has now cemented himself as a long-term NFL starter?
That's Matt Flynn, right, Fitzy?
Pretty much, Boggs. Yeah, the famous Matt Flynn, great final week of the regular season. Seahawks sign him. Russell Wilson comes in as a draftee, outplays Flynn in camp. Flynn never starts a game for the Seahawks. So maybe we are seeing history repeat itself here with Jalen Milroe. So with Milroe off the table, where I have to take Bhayshul Tuten. Not a bad consolation prize. I mean, he is ridiculously fast and like underrated as an inside runner too. He's not just like a 3rd down back. And yes, it's kind of a jammed situation in Jacksonville with Travis Etienne and by the way, I always want to say Trevor. I'm gonna like mix up the Etiennes now from here until one of them finally retires. Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby, but only 1 more year left on Etienne's deal. I think they're going to let him walk after 2025, and then it's going to be maybe Tank and Tuten. But wouldn't surprise me if Tuten got some significant touches right away as a rookie.
By the way, this is how I do it, Fitzy. Trevor, A before E. Travis was in the league
alphabetical
first.
order.
Travis.
Good call.
There you go.
Nice. That'll be helpful. Yeah, I consider Tuten. I mean, obviously just a really tough, fast, we have not been a huge believer in the other guys in this backfield for various reasons over the last couple of years. I think that's a very worthy second, back half of the 2nd round pick. Bogman, where are you going with the 9th spot?
Yeah, give me Kyle Williams going to the Patriots. This just again a team that needs juice on the field. They need speed. They tried it last year with Baker and Polk. Neither one of those guys worked out. I do have a little fear of Kyle Williams being stuck in a slot role, and they already have Demario Douglas. That's where Stephon Diggs does his best work as well. But I think that, he at least has experience on the outside. He played, I think, 70% of his collegiate snaps on the outside. I think those physical corners are going to give them some problems. But they need juice. They need speed. And he'll stick with the play when it breaks down, too. That's really good for Drake May, who can get out of the pocket. So I'm a big fan of Kyle Williams, and I like the landing spot for him. So let's give him a whirl here.
I like that pick. I would have considered it. I went with Jack Besh, a different receiver, the last receiver to get drafted inside the first 2 rounds who was available. I just think he's going to be an NFL receiver for a long time. And I like that he's paired with Geno Smith. There are options in this offense, but it's not like an overwhelming level of competition for him to find targets. I think he's a good player. Like I said, they took him in the 2nd round. That means something. We all fell in love with him, at the Senior Bowl and throughout this process. So I will go with Besh at the 2-10 and kick it to Pat for the 2-11.
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, I do feel like there's a bit of a drop-off here, admittedly, even though I'm going to pick a player that I've been kind of in on throughout the draft, pre-draft process. I'm going to go with Elic Ayomanor, 4th-round pick of the Tennessee Titans. And maybe the 4th-round draft capital was a little disappointing. I thought he was going to be day 2. But, early 4th is not too terrible a result for him. He goes to a team that needs pass catching help. So I think he's going to be playing a significant role right away. And I actually like the pairing with Cam Ward because Cam Ward is an aggressive downfield passer. He's got a little bit of Jameis Winston to his game for good or for bad. And so again, I mean, Ayomanor ideally is probably more of a 3rd-round pick, but I'm going to take him here late in the 2nd because I think there's a big drop-off after like Tuten and Besh.
I agree. I do feel like there's a drop off here too. Bogman is about to take another receiver who I do really like, but the drop off to me is just in terms of how many targets he's going to be getting. But I like the player a lot. But I kind of think in that back end of the second round is where you start to feel like you're taking more of a lottery ticket than with some of the guys earlier in the second round. So again, we just have gone 3 straight receivers: Kyle Williams, Jack Bech, and Ayomanor. Bogman, you're about to take a 4th straight.
Yeah, it's Jaylen Noel. I'll take both of the Iowa State guys, both of the Texans guys as well. Just a really good slot presence. They don't have one in Houston right now. It's the 2 big guys on the edges in Higgins and Collins. And then in the middle, it's, Mechie has just not really panned out the way that we thought. So I think Jaylen Noel can come in here and play immediately for the Texans. Yeah, he's probably going to be taken out on, obvious blocking downs and stuff like that. So I think Higgins is on the field a little bit more, but I still like Noel, and he's still got juice with the ball in his hand. So I think this is a pick that the Texans needed to make. I love that these guys are back together working off of each other again. And I have him as the end of this tier of guys. It's Bech. I have Bech, and then Williams and Noel all together in a grouping. So yeah, that's going to be my pick.
By now, most of you have probably heard of Reality Sports Online, the powerful fantasy sports platform where owners get to build and manage their fantasy team like an NFL general manager. But the question is, have you tried it? It's time to go see what all the buzz in the Dynasty community is about. Free agency, multi-year contracts, a rookie draft, multi-team trades, franchise tags, contract extensions, first-round rookie options, automated contract and salary cap functionality, and much, much more. Think it sounds complicated? It's not. The best thing about Reality Sports Online Fantasy Front Office is that it doesn't take any more time than a standard league. It just requires more strategy. Think you're among the fantasy elite? Well, this is the platform to test your mettle. Still not sure? You can test out your general manager skills for free in a mock free agency auction. If you like what you see, use promo code FANTASYPROS to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. That's promo code FANTASYPROS to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. Fantasy just got real at realitysportsonline.com. We are through 2 rounds here, guys. I am up with the 301. I'm going to take Jayden Blue, and he's the latest picked player that any of us has drafted so far, going in the 5th round to Dallas. But that Dallas landing spot is just so sublime. I think if any of these running backs had gone there that we had ranked higher coming into the process, they would have been drafted easily within round 2 at the latest of the rookie draft. So early round 3, I'm happy to take Blue. And he's a good player. He's explosive. I think he actually complements the guys they have nicely. And I think there is a chance for some big games in Dallas, and maybe even more opportunity than we're expecting if Javonte or Miles Sanders is, washed or ends up hurt or something like that. So I really love Blue as an early 3rd round pick, and I know Bogman agrees.
Absolutely. I mean, what a fantastic pick. A running back that was he was buried, man. He was buried with a lot of good running back. I think Trey Weisner is going to be a high pick next year in the draft as well. So, just a guy that was buried but made the most of his opportunities, fumbled the ball a lot. 5 fumbles and less than 200 carries or something like that in his collegiate career, or right around 200 carries. But needs to work on that, but an immediate pass catcher. And again, a team that needs some speed. He brings it very, very, very fast.
4.28 at his pro day.
Yep, exactly. So we're just, we're excited for some speed guys. And this is a team that needed a back real bad. So excellent pick, Wormeli. I love it.
Don't get people confused on how to pronounce my name. Fitz, you are taking a running back here at 302. Would you have taken Blue, or would you have taken the guy that you're taking anyway?
Debatable. Really close call. Yes, I'm going to outflank you and take a running back who was drafted even later than Jayden Blue. I'm going to take 6th round pick, Devin Neal, who went to the Saints. I was surprised. I thought NFL teams were going to like Neal more than this. They didn't, but I don't care. I'm going to, fly in the face of draft capital and take Devin Neal because I like the landing spot and I like the player. Like the Saints, Alvin Kamara, not a heavy-duty back. He's got his role, but he needs a complimentary back. And the competition for Devin Neal is Kendre Miller, who I don't think the Saints have ever been entirely in love with. And
this just in, he's hurt.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a shock.
Exactly. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who obviously has had his chances in the NFL. So I do think Devin Neal is going to be the number 2 running back in New Orleans from the get-go. And I think he's going to prove that he should have been drafted before the 6th round.
I like Neal a lot. Bogman, you're making it 3 straight running backs.
Yeah, you guys are really smart. I'm trying to be smarter. Let's go with Dylan Sampson. Going to Cleveland, right? I know this is tough going with Judkins too, but I said it when I picked Judkins or when Judkins was picked. I can't remember Fitzy took Judkins, didn't he? Yeah. So we talked about him when Judkins went. I think he's better than Ford from day one, and I like Ford. And Ford's a vet, so it doesn't mean that Ford is dust right now. And from week 1, he's definitely going to be involved. But I just think Sampson is a really decent running back. He has moves on moves, and I think Judkins is good as well. But this team needs to run the ball a lot. We don't have a quarterback. When you have 5, you don't have one. So they're going to run the ball a ton. It's what they should do with some weaknesses on defense. Still run that clock down, play good defense. That should be the name of the game for the Browns for a while. So I think both these guys are going to get a decent workload. And, stranger things have happened. You remember Jamal Williams went ahead of Aaron Jones. So, just because a guy is picked ahead of you doesn't mean you're bad. And I still like Dylan Sampson a decent amount.
I love Sampson, the player. If there's ever a game where Judkins is out, like Sampson will be a must-start player, in my opinion, this season. I just think he's really talented, and obviously it's a run-heavy offense. So I think it's a great pick in the 3rd. Fitz accidentally put his name in the sheet, so I could snake him here knowing who he wants. And it is a player I like, but I will be kind and not do that. I'm going to take... I don't super love the player, but I think it's very likely that Tyler Shough is going to start a lot of games for the Saints this season. And this is the 3rd round and it's SUPERFLEX. And we're talking about a guy who's a starter, and they're going to be incentivized to play him early because of his age. So again, because there's other names that there's not a ton of like great talent left that I'm like, we're all fighting each other to get. There are names I certainly like, but again, a very likely starting quarterback who was the 3rd guy drafted in this class in round 3 of a rookie draft. I'll take that swing in SUPERFLEX.
Yeah, man. I'm finding out now, since none of my actual rookie drafts have reached the 3rd round yet. 3rd round is kind of about what flavors you like. It's I think there are a bunch of options across different positions that are all viable, and it's just whether you prefer strawberry or rocky road. So here with the, what is this, 305? I'm going to take Jalen Royals, 4th round pick, Kansas City. I just like, a lot of people are in on Royals. Really talented, interesting prospect going to a team that, they look a little crowded at wide receiver, but they've got a quarterback and a head coach who can figure out ways to leverage the talent they have on hand. And I think, wouldn't be surprising to me if Royals wound up having a pretty prominent role right away.
Is he going to get the Sky Moore push, by the way?
Possible.
Or do you think that's done? I'm asking because like everybody pushed Sky Moore.
Yeah.
It was a total flaming disaster. It was. I was part of that. I thought Sky Moore was going to be great. It didn't work out. Do you think he's not getting hyped enough because of Sky Moore and what we've seen happen with some of these Chiefs guys? Because being in the Chiefs this is a great spot to be in.
It is. I'm not too worried about it. Like, I was starting to worry about the rookie receiver thing in Kansas City, Boggs. Well, I mean, Rashee Rice had a good rookie season, obviously, but like Xavier Worthy got off to kind of a slow start, looked sort of lost, kept, not being able to stay in bounds. And, but then obviously he caught fire late in the season. So I'm hoping the Sky Moore thing was just a one-off.
Yeah, me too. I'll go with DJ Giddens. I feel like there's a decent drop-off at the running back position after DJ Giddens, and I think there's a lot of wide receivers still on the board that I like. So I'll go with Giddens here, the running back out of K-State, going to the Colts. Not the best landing spot, obviously. Jonathan Taylor is the man, and it's hard to take him off the field. But Giddens is finally someone behind him that is actually good. I think if the Colts use this properly, it's going to be a little less of JT on a game in, game out basis, a little more Giddens to keep JT on the field longer and healthy. So I think this is a great pick. This is the year to do it for the Colts too, with all of these great running backs. And this is a guy that has handled a decent workload. So if anything happens to Jonathan Taylor, if you're rostering him, this is an excellent handcuff as well. So I think he's more than a handcuff, but he's even good just in that role. So yeah, I'm going to go with DJ Giddens here.
Bogman says there's a drop-off at running back. I am taking running back with the next pick, though, Jordan James. I love the landing spot. I mean, with the age and injury history of Christian McCaffrey, with how Kyle Shanahan runs the ball, I don't care that he was a fifth-round pick. I'm going to predict right now that there will be a week this season where, coming off of some kind of injury to McCaffrey, James is the number one waiver wire addition in every redraft league, and I want to have him on my team when that happens. I think he's a great replacement for Jordan Mason as the backup in that offense, who will be a stud if he gets the opportunity. I like James a lot, so I will take him here with a 307 and send it to Fitz.
Mason Taylor, for me, arguably third or fourth best. Obviously, it's Colston, Loveland, and Tyler Warren first, but then Taylor, a second-round pick by the Jets, should be able to start really quickly, and great bloodlines as the son of former Dolphins sack artist extraordinaire Jason Taylor. So yeah,
I was gonna point out, Fitz, sorry to cut you off. We have 3 tight ends who were drafted in the second round of the NFL draft who had not gone off the board yet. Is that because we really like we were drafting guys going in the 5th and 6th round at other positions? Are we ignoring the draft capital maybe too much for these 3 tight ends? Again,
all different flavors here. And like Mason Taylor didn't put up extraordinary numbers at LSU, and maybe that was part of it. But I don't know. Like it depends. Obviously, in tight end premium, you're going to have these guys bumped up. But you kind of have to juggle the positional value in non-tight end premium. And I think it's debatable, someone like Jordan James versus Mason Taylor versus some of the running backs still left on the board.
Yeah, I mean, Pat Freiermuth was a second-round pick. Brenton Strange, I just think tight end is such a hard position to make it in the NFL, right? It's not always a one-for-one. Musgrave was taken over Kraft, right? And Kraft is way better. So it's just, it's a hard position to figure out specifically early. And then, if there's an amazing one coming out next year, a team is not going to let Mason Taylor keep them from taking, if there's another Brock Bowers, Oscar Delp, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't hate waiting on some of these tight ends here. I'm going to go ahead and snap up Shedeur though. Listen, it's super flex, and let's take all the outside noise away, right? Where is Shedeur in the Cleveland roster, regardless of where they went? He is probably the best quarterback they have right now. Flacco is a veteran. He'll start for most of the year. I understand that. You don't want to put any of these young guys behind a horrible offensive line and, a new run game. I get that. But Shedeur still has upside. So I'm going to do it back to you, Fitz. I'm going to take one of your guys in front of you so you can have him. And I know a lot of people don't agree with him going over Dylan Gabriel. I think he's a better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel. So I don't really care where they drafted. I think he's going to figure it out in minicamp and preseason, and he's immediately going to slide past Dylan Gabriel on the depth chart. Kenny Pickett is probably your odd man out here.
I think you don't need to justify this pick, honestly, Bogman. Like I considered it with the 307. I think it's at this point, we have reacted to his fall in the real draft enough. This is still a team where he could easily step into the starting role at some point this season. It would surprise nobody if that happened, where we're talking about a super flex draft, like late 3rd round pick. I think our game of Shedeur Chicken lasted long enough. I think this is a very legitimate pick that I think most people would probably agree with. I don't think you'll get any pushback on this one. Fitz, this is your guy though.
What's that?
Shedeur. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I considered him with that Mason Taylor pick for sure. Like this is around where he should go, I think. And you might get a handful of nothing with Shedeur. It's entirely possible they just decide they don't like him. If he doesn't stick with Cleveland, that could be pretty close to the end of his NFL experience. But
a 3rd rounder, willing to do that.
I still totally believe in the player.
I'm going to go with another one of these tight ends. I'm going to take Elijah Arroyo. I know he went a couple spots after Ferguson, but buying into the athleticism, I think there can be an opportunity in Seattle. Obviously, they have gotten rid of some of their established pass catchers in the offseason. And, we've talked in the past about Noah Fant, not being anything to write home about. So I could have easily flipped a coin between a few different tight ends here, I think. And I'm just going to go with the athleticism of Arroyo.
Well, Worm, that's really disappointing. So now I'm going to have to take your player, Tai Felton. And really...
You didn't have to take five. You guys have all these players you love that okay, if you take one, I can take the other. This is my one guy. And so to take him, I think is actively rude.
I like him too. Tall. And although he's built thin, he surprisingly does not... He seems to relish the physical part of the game. And granted... The landing spot is not ideal where he's going to be third in the pecking order behind Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison at wide receiver, playing with a rookie quarterback, but I don't think you're necessarily taking him for year one production. And, just a good prospect, and we have to feel pretty good that he got day 2 draft capital.
Yeah, for me, the biggest reason I would pass on him is just, it's hard to imagine a scenario where he's higher than 4th on the team in targets, given Hawkinson as well. And barring an injury, which, could happen,
sure.
Things change. It is Dynasty and he got good capital, but that's the biggest reason for me for one to try to take him early 4th rather than late 3rd, like I have been.
Yeah, I like Ty, but my guy here is going to be Pat Bryant, the wide receiver going to the Denver Broncos. I've loved this guy mainly because of his motor, but he's big, physical. He's going to run block. Sean Payton loves that. And he's such a touchdown threat. He's great in the end zone, can box out, go get the ball. He's big, and I just love the effort. Plus, Cortland Sutton is a free agent after this season, and the aforementioned Marvin Mims hasn't worked out so well. And then it's Bailey, and they just don't have a lot of other options. Troy Franklin, maybe something happens there with him, but I really like Pat Bryant. And if you listen to Sean Payton in the press conference after they drafted him, he was gushing about him. Really likes this kid. Comparing him to Michael Thomas and all that. I don't think he's Michael Thomas, but I think he's worth a bottom of the 3rd round pick for sure.
You can evaluate trades with confidence using Fantasy Pros Trade Analyzer. Instantly see the impact of trades on your team and get expert recommendations, whether you're making a 2-for-1 deal or swapping a couple draft picks for that stud who will help you win now. The Trade Analyzer will help you optimize your roster and make smarter decisions. Try the Trade Analyzer today at fantasypros.com/myplaybook and dominate your league. All right, guys, we are through 3 rounds. We've got 2 rounds left. We'll go a little quicker on these because we are already up over an hour. I was going to take Tai Felton here, and now that he's gone, I got to actually think about who I want. I guess I'll just take the other of the tight ends because we're not really drafting as if this is the same team. I know this pick technically already took Tyler Warren, but I'm going to take the other 2nd round tight end here in the 4th round. That feels like good value. And the Rams, obviously, is a good offense. I think there could be a real role for Ferguson long-term as the tight end of choice there for Sean McVay. So I'll go with Ferguson here.
I'll follow that with the homer pick of Savion Williams. 3rd round pick by the Green Bay Packers. And what is Savion going to be? He is an unconventional Cordero Patterson-like skill set. Is he a running back? Is he a wide receiver? He's basically a freak athlete with questionable route running skills and hands. A little like what if Randy Moss had ping pong paddles for hands? It'd be a little like Savion Williams. So, but he needed to go to a creative play caller, and he did with Matt LaFleur. I feel good about that.
Bogman.
Yeah, I like it. I'm going to go with Isaac Tesla. I think he ends a tier of wide receivers here, at least in my opinion. I have him mixed in with Savion and Ty and all those guys. So a 3rd round pick. I don't know where he fits in the offense. I think that's the biggest question right now. You have Amon-Ra, you have Jameson, you have the 2 backs still, and Laporta. So where does he fit? Is he going to be consistent performer? I think probably not. Same thing with the rest of the guys in this group, though. A nice pick with upside.
I'm going to go. Actually, I do want to quickly ask Fitz what you think about. Is it Tesla? Is it Tesla with the capital S? I'm not 100% sure. But I mean, the Lions traded 2 future 3rd round picks to move up in the 3rd round to take a guy that I think based on his production in college, a lot of people thought would still be available at their original pick. So does that change how you evaluate him when drafting rookie drafts, that like, oh, the Lions really wanted him?
I mean, I've moved him up in my rankings for sure from where I had him pre-draft, like 6'4", really fast. I understand the appeal with the athleticism. It's just like, you know, he has the tools, but does he have the toolkit? The Lions and Brad Holmes believe he has the toolkit. And Jameson Williams has been hurt frequently and not always, a good citizen off the field, although I think that the betting thing was kind of BS. But so like this is kind of a hedge on Jameson Williams' availability. But man, Tesla, like it's kind of the Alec Pierce package, right? Tall, fast, day 2 draft capital. And I know Pierce hasn't necessarily paid dividends in fantasy, but maybe part of that is the quarterback situation. I think Tesla's getting a much better point guard here with Jared Goff.
I'm going to take Woody Marks with the 404. Awesome landing spot. I think he's a great fit as a backup to Joe Mixon in Houston. He got the 4th round draft capital. I watched a lot of USC this season because I had Miller Moss in a Campus to Canton league, and I consistently found myself pretty impressed watching Marks. And he's not somebody that I was like desperate to go out and get in dynasty leagues, you know, irrespective of where he landed, but I actually like the landing spot a lot for him. So I'm going to go with Marks here at the 404 and send it back to Pat.
I have to go with Tahj Brooks. Only a 6th round pick, but I love the landing spot in Cincinnati. I think he's a perfect complement for Chase Brown. Like Tahj can do a little of everything, and he's just this smaller, shorter, but thickly built, just bowling ball who, surprising agility, really good contact balance, good pass catcher, really good pass blocker, which Chase Brown does not do well. So I think he's going to be a nice fit for Cleveland, and I think he's going to find ways to get onto the field.
For Cincinnati, not Cleveland.
Oh, I said Cleveland. I'm sorry about that.
Sure.
Mixing up my Ohio cities.
Yeah,
I like that pick. You got me by one spot, by the way. I was definitely going with Tahj Brooks here. I will go ahead and settle on Kyle Monangai. I know he's a 7th round pick, but
our first 7th round pick off the board, I think.
And look, all he has to do is beat out Roschon to have a significant role in this offense, right? I think Travis Homer's the special team guy. He's a great special team guy. You don't take him out of that role. He's the 4th back on this team. So it's Roschon and Monangai behind Swift. That's all he's got to do is push Roschon. He is a hard worker. He's a strong runner, and he gives this team a little physicality. He's a weird fit. He does big man running back things in a small package, and he doesn't do the small package running back things very well. But I love him. I think he's a good back, and I think he's a good fit in the 4th.
I think it's a great pick, actually. I think there's a very clear path to him being fantasy relevant. So I like that a lot. And he's a player that we had talked about in the process that we like. I'm going to take Harold Fannin Jr., the last guy on the board of the skill position players with day 2 draft capital. I'm not entirely sure how he's going to fit in the offense with Njoku and, the quarterback situation in Cleveland, but obviously just an uber productive player at the college level. So you're getting to the back half of round 4 in the rookie draft. I'll take a swing on the production and the guy who also got draft capital out of it.
Yeah, you snaked me, Worm. I would have taken Fannin, but instead at 408, I'm going to take Trevor.
I'll trade you him for Tai Felton.
I'll take Trevor Etienne here, and 4th round draft capital to the Panthers, who, depending on the recovery of Jonathan Brooks, may or may not need him to be a significant contributor.
I like it. I'm going to follow that one up with Dante Thornton, the wide receiver out of Tennessee, landing in Vegas with the Raiders. I just think there's an opportunity for playing time. I mean, I think Jacoby is the guy. I think right behind him is Betch, but this 3rd spot is open for business. It's Trey Tucker. It's Christian Wilkerson, Tommy Mellott that they're bringing over from Montana and converting him from a quarterback, just a great athlete. There's not a lot of juice after that. Kyle Phillips maybe gets another shot, but somebody's going to be on the field in this 3rd time. And Dante Thornton is a size speed guy. He is a MVS type of player that is going to get you 2 catches. Hopefully one of them is a 60-yard touchdown. That's what you want. So he's definitely a swing player with a little bit more upside. Just wasn't used a lot at Tennessee. Could be used more for the Raiders. I'll be interested to see how he grows because the body is perfect. Super fast, super tall. just needs a little bit more seasoning.
I'll take Dillon Gabriel, drafted in the 3rd round. I mean, for all the reasons we said, Shedeur Sanders, I mean, there's a chance he could be the starter at some point this season. Competition's wide open with this quarterback room. So late 4th round in a rookie draft, again, in Superflex. Guy went. I think Shedeur is a better quarterback than Dillon Gabriel, but I don't have the level of confidence to say I know better than the Browns in that regard. And the Browns did draft Gabriel ahead of him. So I'll take the swing here in Superflex on him.
All right, for me at 4-11, I'm going to take Torrey Horton. I didn't like him as much as some other people liked him, but 5th round pick to Seattle who needed an outside receiver. And I don't know, maybe I'd like him a lot more if he had missed most of his final year in college. So, but like he was before that, had he stayed healthy last year, it's possible he was a day 2 pick. So,
I mean, who's ahead of him too? It's MVS, Jake Bobo,
right?
The ghost of Cooper Kupp, right? So, yeah, there's a path to decent playing time there.
Absolutely.
I'll go with Will Howard. Superflex draft. We're taking swings on QBs. Look, right now it's probably Aaron Rodgers, but the only other guys on the roster are Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. I think he's better than both those guys today. I do not like Mason Rudolph. I don't think he's a good quarterback. I think he's a 3rd string guy who has, worked his way into starting on occasion. He's familiar with Pittsburgh. That's great. But I think Will Howard will beat him out at some point this season for the number 2 job behind Aaron Rodgers.
Quick reminder for everybody to join our Fantasy Pros Discord community, chat with other fans, and get access to exclusive AMAs that wind up on our podcast feed. Here's our current schedule. Myself and Fitz at 5 Eastern on Tuesday, May 13th. Boggs and Fitz at 5 Eastern on the 3rd Tuesday of each month. Come get your questions answered and be on the show at fantasypros.com/chat. All right, final round here. I forgot to make my pick before I did the ad read. I will take, I said it earlier in terms of, Debro being somebody whose evaluations I tend to trust. He likes Brashard Smith a lot. I'm going to take him. I don't think Pacheco is finished. I think he was just coming back from a really bad leg injury at the end of the season. But I do like the opportunity of there. You could squint your eyes and see a path to touches for a quality player in the backfield of the Chiefs. That excites me in the 5th round of a rookie draft. So I will take Smith.
At 5:02, I'm going to take Jarquez Hunter, the running back from Auburn, who looks absolutely log jammed with the Rams behind Kyron Williams, behind Blake Corum, but the Rams liked him enough to spend a 4th round draft pick on him. So even though I'm obviously not expecting much in year 1 in his situation, the investment makes me think the Rams have some sort of plan for him.
Yeah, I like it, Fitzy. Stop the slide. I was going to definitely take him here. I think that's a good pick this late. Just such good value. I'll reach for another quarterback. I'll go with Kyle McCord going to Philly. He'll have to push Tanner McKee, but I think this kid was pretty good. He's probably a backup for his career. But if anything happens to Jalen, I think he fits better than McKee. So give me Kyle McCord.
Totally fair swing to take. I think I was considering McCord also. I'll take Oronde Gadsden second. Again, getting that landing spot with the Chargers. You can see a path to targets there, paired with a good quarterback, an offensive coordinator that likes using tight ends. I was really happy with that landing spot for him. I'm taking more tight ends than I intended to, and I'm kind of learning that about how I feel about this class. But yeah, going with Gadsden.
All right, at 5:05, I'm going to take a guy that I probably took like in some second round of some mocks we did earlier pre-draft, Damian Martinez, who had the devastating 1-2 punch of poor draft capital, bad situation. He goes to Seattle, where he's going to be behind Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, and he was picked in the 7th round. So things are not looking bright for him, but Kenneth Walker, 1 more year left on his contract. Seattle didn't pick up the 5th-year option. It's possible that Martinez is number 2 behind Zach Charbonnet next year. Obviously, we're not expecting a lot from Damian Martinez for 2025, but still like the player.
Yeah, I still like him. I think this is such good value here. Give me Gunnar Helm, tight end going to Tennessee. I think that all he has to do is push Chig Okonkwo a little bit. I think Okonkwo is a great tight end. Don't want to fight, especially at the end of the show here, Worm. But I think Gunnar Helm is much better than he showed at the combine. He was, obviously rolled his ankle on that first run. More athletic, and he was so good for Texas down the stretch. I think he's a nice receiving threat.
I specifically didn't take him because of Chigakonkwo. Listen, we don't need to fight Texas versus Maryland because we already settled that on the field back-to-back years.
Let's play now. Let's see who wins.
By the way, Fitz, I was hoping Damian Martinez would get to my next pick, so I think that was a really good pick. I'm going with Raheem Sanders, who was not drafted. This is somebody that a year ago, though, if you were looking at way too early rookie mocks a year out, he was talked about as a guy who would have been much higher than this. And we're in the fifth round, right? Like these are all lottery tickets to various degrees anyway. I think he signed with the Chargers, right? That's what you have written down here, Bogman, as an undrafted free agent. Again, a team that likes to run the ball. I know they drafted Omarion Hampton and signed Najee Harris, but there are opportunities. I think if one of those guys goes down, like Sanders, has the pedigree that I'm willing to take a swing here. When again, they're all risks anyway. All right, Fitz at number 8.
All right, at 508, I'm going to take Jalen Lane, 4th round pick for Washington, and Washington needs another contributor at wide receiver. So paired with Jaden Daniels, I think there's upside here.
Yeah, I don't like a lot of what's left on the board, so I'm just going to keep taking some QB shots here. Give me Quinn. Quinn Ewers going to Miami. Tua is injured a ton. Zach Wilson has been in the league a million years and done nothing. So Quinn could get playing time decently early should Tua get hurt and Zach Wilson is unimpressive as he has been. So don't like that he went in the 7th round, but I do like the spot where he landed in Miami.
I feel a lot different about the options here than I did just a round ago. Like I liked a lot of the names that went in round 4. I find it to be pretty disheartening making a pick in round 5. So maybe that's a lesson. If you want to try and trade up in the 4th round of your drafts and be willing to give up a 5th rounder to do it, would be my interpretation. Truthfully, like the names that are most calling to me are like the undrafted guys who I just liked prior to the process, like Restrepo. I think, being paired with Cam Ward in Tennessee is appealing to me. You could take another quarterback swing, like, I don't know, Riley Leonard, given that there's not like a settled situation there. I think what I'm going to do and just fall back on, because I have nothing else that I really is calling to me, is since I didn't get Tai Felton, I'll take Caden Prather. Just take the Terp. Goes to Buffalo. Obviously paired with a good quarterback. And, you're just taking a swing and hoping that they find an opportunity at this point anyway. So I'll be a homer and take a Terp because I don't really love and I don't want to plant my flag really on anybody else.
Yeah, homerism sounds like a good idea at this late stage of the draft. So at 5'11", I'm going to take former Wisconsin Badger Chimere DK, who ended his career with Florida. And, DK is really athletic. The Titans spent 4th round draft capital on him. It's possible his greatest contributions are on special teams where he excels. But, he does have some wide receiver skills. Maybe he can be a contributor. I don't expect him to be a star, but he's athletic enough to maybe surprise us.
I'll round us out with Ollie Gordon, the running back out of OK State, who, if he had come out a year before, would have been so much higher on everybody's board. Just a miserable senior season, got a little banged up. Maybe that affected him. Just didn't look good, but they need a bruiser in Miami, and because they lost Mostert. So it's between him and Alexander Madison, who has fumbled his way out of many jobs, and Jalen Wright, who hasn't done anything in the NFL yet. So maybe he can earn a spot, but that is a wild swing.
This is the deepest of any of the mock drafts we've done so far, guys. Is there any kind of overarching takeaway that you guys have from having gone 60 players deep here?
Yeah, I think things are pretty regimented for about 2 2/3 rounds. And then things start to fall apart. And the 3rd round is all about, there's some interesting players. It's just a matter of what you like, what positions you need to fill. And then, 4th round and 5th round, you are just crossing your fingers and hoping. There is not a lot of outstanding talent falling into the 4th round.
Bogman, what was your takeaway?
honestly, after the Fannin pick, where you took him at 4.7, there are vets, I think, that are better than most of the rest of the guys. Maybe a couple of the quarterback shots I want to take in a super flex if I'm quarterback needy. Other than that, it is dart throwing, like Fitzy said. So it's decently deep, but it gets pretty murky pretty quick.
That does feel like the pick, right? Fannin at 407. After that, there was a lot
Take
of
him for all of his upside, and then it's only upside.
It was a lot of us, I felt like, describing like justifying our picks rather than saying, oh, I really feel good and I'm happy I made this pick.
Correct.
Yep.
So yeah, that's just interesting to keep in mind. We've got more Dynasty content coming for everybody. Hopefully you checked out our NFL draft winners and losers along with our rankings movers that came out a couple of days ago. We've got today's episode, obviously, and then we're also going to have one more episode this week where we talk about some rookie draft pick trade strategy and do our rookie tiers. So be sure to check that out as well. Plus all the live stuff we got going on and everything else. For Bogman and Fitz, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Pros Dynasty Football Podcast. If you love the show, the best free way to support us is by leaving a positive review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Follow us on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Fantasy Pros, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/fantasypros.